here's Brody Brazil.
Well, good morning, everybody. It's Friday, and it's the start of Big League Weekend in Las Vegas. Technically Summerlin, which is where the A's are going to play 2 games tonight and tomorrow against the Milwaukee Brewers. It's Cactus League style. It's still exhibition, but those 2 teams will travel north and play at the home of the Las Vegas Aviators, the A's AAA affiliate. Again, this is something the Oakland Ball Club has done annually each of the last several seasons, so none of that part is new. But it is very different this time around because this will be the first time the A's are in Las Vegas since all the developments of last year. Like in April, when they officially put all their focus on relocating to Las Vegas instead of staying rooted in Oakland. Like in June, when they got $380 million of public funding approved. Or like in November, when Major League Baseball owners unanimously approved the A's relocation to Las Vegas. So yeah, this trip, this visit, is definitely going to hit a little bit different. And the purpose of this video is kind of like a primer to just get ahead of the things you might read and see and hear and interpret. I just want to set things out. And I think the overarching theme of all of this is to really not read into any one thing or another too much. Like the biggest story, the release of renderings, that's already happened now a couple days ago. Baseball games and like what players might say, how they're interviewed over the weekend, that may not have the same weight or ramifications. The first point here to make is that player commentary, for the most part, is going to be irrelevant. Now, there may be somebody who's extremely passionate and knowledgeable and has a connection and has an idea that needs to be shared. But for the most part, A's players across the board, they're open for interviews. They're going to be asked for their opinions, their thoughts, their insights about a potential move, whether it's next year or in 2028 or whenever. It's important to remember that these players are not necessarily stakeholders in Oakland or in Las Vegas. And in fact, a lot of them don't really know if they'll be playing in one or the other city for this upcoming season. Granted, there are some A's on the Oakland roster that are going to be playing their entire season in Oakland. But there's still a lot of players on the Oakland roster who don't know if they might spend some time in AAA or in the majors or both. And so these are players from all across the country. Las Vegas is not their home. Oakland is not their home. And now they're being put in the middle of all this to be giving quotes and commentary. And they're kind of being asked to either agree with their team and their bosses and their employer, or maybe go against where they're about to play the next season in the city of Oakland. These players are being so kind and generous, and they're largely just trying to satisfy the media's request. The media might have several questions. This is just one of them. And although it might be hard to say, I just don't know if my answer is fit for this conversation, that might be the best thing to do, but it's definitely not the easiest thing in these circumstances. I totally get it. So I'm just here to say, for the most part, player commentary, what anybody might say over the course of the next 48 hours, I really wouldn't read too much into it. These are players without a lot of background on this situation. They really don't have a stake in either place, Oakland or Las Vegas, that really makes a difference for the most part. Some players are passionate about this or that, but the majority speaking, I don't think any player really has that defined opinion that's really going to make a difference here. I would also really not read too much into attendance either way, whether it's sold out, whether it's far from sold out, whether it's an average crowd, it doesn't really matter. And let's also establish this. There's a big difference between paid attendance, announced attendance, and actual attendance, like what you can see with your own eyes. And I think that's going to probably be the biggest takeaway. If you really think it matters, the paid attendance or what the announced attendance are, sure, we'll read and hear some numbers, but there will be video, there will be photos from these games. We'll see with our own eyes how many people actually showed up versus whatever gets announced. I mean, that's a thing across all professional sports. The Aviators themselves seem to do that a lot, a large discrepancy of paid and announced attendance versus actual attendance. But again, I'm telling you, none of this is really that relevant. This is a ballpark that's got 8,196 seats. And the total capacity, like if you really sell it out, standing room only and all, it's only 10,000. And a capacity of a major league ballpark, like the ones that the A's have just released renderings of, that's closer to 33,000. And we're not just talking about 2 spring training games one time a year. Like, this should be a special event. There should be a lot of excitement around these games. There should be a big welcome for the A's after everything the last year has brought Las Vegas baseball fans. But even if there is a sellout or 2 sellouts this weekend, that's still a small fraction, like basically a quarter of what the team would need to sell ticket-wise for every single game 81 times in a summer versus just 2 times here in spring training. So again, whether it's far from full or whether it's very full, I wouldn't put too much stock in what the attendance is said to be or even looks to be over the weekend. Because a reminder, these are spring training exhibition games against the Brewers. And it's an A's team that's not coming off a great couple seasons. And there's not necessarily the star power of this game, like Shohei Ohtani's not rolling into town, Mike Trout's not rolling into town. So you understand here, it is kind of what it is. Don't put too much stock into pretty much anything you see here. Renderings, I would imagine, will be the center of focus. I mean, they just came out a couple days ago. There's only 4 images for all of us to look at and digest. But maybe, just maybe, I have no idea or inclination, but maybe it's possible that more come out over this weekend. An initial splash was made. There are some things established. There's definitely some questions still to be answered. But I would have to imagine that we will learn more through more information and quotes and commentary, and I would have to think that renderings themselves would be a big point of conversation between the media and A's executives who actually do interviews across this weekend. And yeah, it could be the chance to clear up any confusions or questions or go into much greater detail because, again, I think the initial reaction is, okay, we see that, but there are still some things that need some clarity. So I definitely imagine that renderings will be a central conversation point. I also think media coverage in Las Vegas, it seems and feels pretty predictable, and I don't mean that as a negative or as a slam. I'm saying that to this point, we really haven't seen an overwhelming A's fan demand in Las Vegas. There's no fan group. There have been no exhibitions or demonstrations of A's fans to kind of welcome the team into Las Vegas, but I will tell you, over the course of this weekend, if you watch Las Vegas news and media coverage, you're probably going to see a lot of fans being interviewed and saying how much they would love the A's to come to Las Vegas and how much they'd support the team in a move. I relate this to trying to find classical music fans like on any average street in North America. You walk down the street, what kind of music do you like? What's your favorite? Oh, EDM. I like jazz. I like hip hop. I like country. I like whatever, rock music. Not a lot of people are saying, oh, I love classical music. It's my favorite. Well, if you get off the street and go into the symphony, there's your 3,000 classical music fans. You're going to find a ton of the demographic you're searching for at the symphony. And so if you're looking to find a reaction of how many people want the A's to come to Las Vegas, you should definitely find it at a spring training exhibition game, one of 2 special ones every year at Las Vegas Ballpark this weekend. And again, this is just the local angle of how their media is covering this story. Not a knock, not a put down at all, but this story has elevated and escalated into so much more of a national angle that I don't know the local coverage or perspective matters now as it may have even a year ago. I also think with the A's in Vegas, I mean, this is their first time since all this went down last year. It's a perfect opportunity for the A's to have Vegas outreach. It's probably going to be an opportunity to have presence and appearances in the local community. Players make a school visit or a community center visit or do some type of thing with a congregation. There's just plenty of opportunities that the team probably won't have for another full year until the next time this rolls around. So I would expect to see some sort of that. In addition, I think there's enough people in Southern Nevada who may be against any of this happening, and I think they will be out there trying to show their presence and their opposition as well, too. So don't be surprised if there's opposition to this potential relocation bid. And so, again, all that established, the overwhelming theme here. Don't read too much into this or that. don't put too much stock into this or that. One of the biggest things that could happen in this process just took place a couple days ago. That was the release of rendering. So like I said, what a few ball players might say, what a few fans might say, how a couple baseball games go at Las Vegas Ballpark. It's really irrelevant, although I do understand and expect that it's going to be built up pretty big. You made it here to the end of the video. You know I appreciate that. Thumbs up down below. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel so I can definitely see you back here next time.